This is Karen with newclevelandradio.net. It is Tuesday, and it is time for What in the World with Paul Seaburn and some guy down in Florida wearing a Browns hat.
Oh, what an introduction. What an introduction. Holy smoke. We need to start rehearsing again. This is getting out of control. That voice you heard there, that fabulous introduction, was Karen Hale, media mogul at newclevelandradio.net, our producer at What in the World, and our co-host on this show. Yes, I am Paul Seaburn, your host of What in the World, everybody's favorite weird news show. What's our motto? Real news, sometimes strange, always funny. That's what we hope to bring you every week. Today is Tuesday, as always, 3:30 in the afternoon, Eastern Standard Time. We moved our clocks back, which means that we just looked at the when sunset is this week. Sunset today is at 5:15 p.m. That's an hour and a half away.
It's ridiculous.
That's wrong. That's wrong. That's right. And Karen introduced a fabulous introduction to our good buddy John Denalo. John, everybody's favorite Cleveland sports fan. John is on location in Florida. Hey, John, how are you?
Oh, I'm good, Paul. And that was a fantastic introduction, Karen. I'll try to hold up to the introduction and hold my end up here today. But thanks very much.
Yeah. We're setting the bar pretty low for you there, John. So get
Well,
back
that
and
says something.
relax.
Well, I tell you what, folks, that says something, and we'll just leave it at that.
All
Okay.
right. Well, hopefully John's got some reports from down in Florida. What are we talking about today? Well, let's see. Let's fill everybody. We need to do some rehearsals here. Let's fill everybody in. I told you you're listening to newclevelandradio.net. You're either listening to us or watching us live on YouTube. If you're watching live, so much for doing that. If you're listening to us in the future, I'm glad we made it a couple of days into the future. We are on YouTube. We are on Spotify, Apple. Go to newclevelandradio.net and find out all the places where we're at for free. And then check out some of Karen's, the other podcasts that Karen produces. Great podcast, something for everybody. So please take a look at all of that. We're in Cleveland, Ohio. That explains John's Cleveland Browns hat. Cleveland Browns fans are celebrating. The Browns won this week. The Cavaliers, I think, won their last game, so they finally moved a couple of notches up in the win column. Our favorite team, the Dallas Wings, the WNBA team, they're off for the season, so we'll give them a shout out anyways.
We appreciate that.
Who else? John and I, John and I have known each other since college. We're fraternity brothers. Our school unfortunately lost to. I'm not even going to mention that school's name. That school that they always lose to. So that's it. Okay, we'll get all the local sports out of the way. Let's see. What are we talking about today on What in the World? Oh God, I've got some great stories. Just when I think that I'm going to run out of stories, all heck breaks loose. So we've got. A lingerie deer. I talked about this on Facebook today. I'm going to talk about it a little more. A lingerie deer in Michigan and loose kangaroos in Poland, which sounds like a medical condition, but it's not.
It certainly does.
John, in addition to being a Browns fan, he's also a Bigfoot fan. So we've got a story. I've got Bigfoot in England. I've got the Yeti. Someone found a Yeti hair in the Himalayas and did a DNA analysis on it. So we're going to talk about that. And the Bigfoot in Australia is the Yowie. I've got some sightings and some footprints and all kind of good stuff from Australia. So all kind of good Bigfoot stories here. Noiseless nacho snacks, which is hard to say, but it's a new invention coming out of England. Toilet paper in the refrigerator. We're going to find out all about this. This is happening in the United States. A famous Ty-D-Bol man. I'll let you figure out what that might be. Plus, let's see what else we got. Well, more odd news. We've got trivia. We've got world records. John's got a great sport for us this week, a great weird sport. And when we're done with all that, we play everybody's favorite weird news game, Bluff the Co-Hosts. So again, thank you everybody who's got us in your coming out of your earbud, or if you're watching us, or whatever it is you're doing, thanks so much for joining us. Let's get right to it with my favorite story of the week, and it just happened today. Straight out of Lansing, Michigan, everybody's favorite city in Michigan, Lansing, home of, is that Michigan State, John?
Yep.
Michigan State, yes,
It's
Michigan State
Spartans.
University.
Okay. I should ask Karen, because Karen was
It's okay. It's okay.
lived there for quite a while. Okay, that's okay. Oh, what an attitude. Well, it just, I don't know what to say other than let's talk about the deer. So this comes from Lansing, Michigan. Let's get our photo up here while I make sure we can do that. There we go. Okay, there's our logo, and let's take a look at what we're going to be talking about here. Okay, so for those of you who are listening to us, by the way, I do have photos that go along with the story. I'll explain the story as well, so you don't have to look at us on YouTube. But we do appreciate if you check us out on YouTube and follow us, do all the things that you do, so that we know how many people are checking into the show. So this is a security camera. This was during the day, so the store was open at a lingerie shop in Lansing, Michigan. They had to close the shop because a deer crashed through the glass front door. It started across the street, according to witnesses, and crashed through the door, tore around the store. It broke mirrors, it wrecked mannequins, it destroyed clothing. They couldn't figure out what might have got into it, although some animal experts said that they think it was actually a female deer impersonator shopping for outfits and performs under the name Buck Naked. So
All right.
long explanation there. Female deer impersonator. Okay. Either that or she was confused when she heard that Bambi shopped at the store, and she didn't know that Bambi was actually a very popular local stripper in Lansing. This has happened before. I saw a deer do the same thing, bust through the glass at a Buick dealership, and they thought that the deer was mad because they misspelled Buck by adding an I in the middle of Buick.
Oh,
Very good.
Okay.
Okay, that's enough of that. I don't know if my horn is working today. Let's see. We got a horn today. Okay, great. All right. So, I know we all live in Northeast Ohio and very close to each other. So we all have deer in our neighborhood. Now I have so many deer in my neighborhood that I have to close the curtains when I'm watching the Cavaliers play the Milwaukee Bucks, because they're lined up behind me. Hey, move over.
Good one, Paul. Good one.
Anyway, thanks, John. One more horn there. So yeah, this is a real story out of Lansing. They I've seen this happen before in Colorado, in Estes Park, as a matter of fact, a store that I know that the lovely Donna and I have visited on our trips to Estes Park. So this is I guess, deer get a hair up their deer butt, and next thing you know, I don't know, that's a wildlife term there. A hair up their deer butt.
Okay.
Okay, so speaking of wildlife, I gotta get out of this hole here. I've got 3 big Bigfoot stories this week. So John, get all excited here.
I am ready, Paul.
First one comes from the Himalayas. So that means, for fans of Bigfoot, that means we're going to be talking about the Yeti, or the abominable snowman. That's what we call the Bigfoot, or they call the Bigfoot in the Himalayas, in India and China and Tibet. So this guy, Andrew Benfield, he's a writer and a meditation teacher, but he also is into Bigfoot. And he took a political analyst with him. Richard Horsey is the guy's name. So they're not, real well-known Bigfoot experts, but they were doing a research for the BBC. So they traveled through India, Myanmar, Nepal, and Bhutan last year, collecting stories from locals about Bigfoot. And the documentary is hitting the TV, cable TV this week, called Yeti. Well, big deal. Go figure. But what they revealed is that they found a hair that was allegedly from the legendary Yeti or abominable snowman. Now, I think I have a photo here to go along with it here. So this is a footprint that they found of the alleged Yeti. So that would be a good place to find a hair. And as a matter of fact, they found this in the Bhutan Wildlife Sanctuary, which is a 286 square mile sanctuary, national park, designed in part to protect the Yeti. So that's how much they believe in the Yeti in this country, that they set up a national park that for the sole, well, for a part of its purpose was to protect the Yeti. The hair was 6 inches long, the hair that they found. The researcher Benfield, he cut it in half. I guess he kept half of it for himself, and he sent half to Charlotte Lindquist, who is an evolutionary biologist at the University of Buffalo in New York. Okay, you got all that?
Oh, we got it.
So they sent it for DNA analysis, and the answer, they got the answer. Drum roll, please. I don't have a drum here. The hair came from a horse.
Yeah,
what
a disappointment. What a disappointment.
I know. They found that the DNA matched an Altai horse, which is a mountain breed from Asia that is popular in the Himalayas. In fact, it didn't come directly from a horse. It was white, because the abominable snowman is white. So they think it actually came from a horsehair paintbrush. And somebody was painting a fence.
Very good, Paul. Very good.
It doesn't matter. People in the Himalayas still believe in the Yeti. Horses don't anymore, but
Hey, John, do you notice that there's only one footprint?
Karen, I didn't want to bring that to Paul's attention. I didn't want to rain on his parade, but yes, as we know, Karen, many sightings, as they're reported, seem to lack a lot of fact. That's all I have to say.
Okay. I want you to remember those statements when we get to the third story here, okay? So that's right. Our Yeti story. That's our Yeti story. And the next one comes from Great Britain. In Great Britain, we don't talk about the Bigfoot in Great Britain that much, but it's the term for it there is a wild man. Or a woodwose, woodwose, woodwose is what they're called there. So this guy, Andy McGrath, has conducted a 6-year search to look for the woodwose all across the United Kingdom, not just England, but Scotland and Wales. He's looking at Ireland. He's looking everywhere for Bigfoot. 6 years he's been looking, and he has confirmed, unfortunately, that there is no Bigfoot today in the United Kingdom. But he believes that there was a Bigfoot for quite a long time because of all the evidence that he found. Again, John, certain secondhand evidence, but I want to show you some of what they found.
Okay, let's take a look. Let's be objective here.
Yeah. So it's been called the wild man. It's bipedal, muscular, hairy all across. It looks more human than the American Bigfoot. It looks like he's carrying a club in this painting. Many of these paintings come from the 12th and 13th century. That's when there was a lot of talk about there being this wild man or Bigfoot in England. So let's see, that's one right there. Let's take a look at this one here.
Okay.
I like this one. So this is an interesting drawing here. Bigfoot is normally naked. This particular drawing of a wild man has a loincloth, I would call it, made out of leaves. And he also, I don't know if this is a spare, but he also has something that looks like the same thing on his head. Maybe that's.
He really looks forlorn, doesn't he? Oh my God.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
Look at him. I mean, it's just like, wow. He's like, he's full of despair, this creature here.
Good point, John. Here's what I think. I think that he made another loincloth that he's wearing on his head, and he's looking for a friend, maybe another male Bigfoot, maybe a female Bigfoot, So he's, you know, he hasn't found one yet. Maybe that's why he looks like that.
Maybe. Yeah.
Anything's possible.
All right, here's another one. This is my third one here. I really like this one because he doesn't scare anybody here. He looks like a very short defensive lineman for the Browns.
Yes, he does.
He's got and you know, you normally, if you see Bigfoot carrying anything, it's normally a stick, like one of the other photos, one of the other drawings. In this one, he actually looks like he made a stone axe, like he's an actual caveman of some sort. In the ears, he's got pointy ears, and not much hair. The hair is on his head and on his face and on his legs. If you notice this, his body doesn't look quite as hairy as the rest of him.
Maybe he shaved.
I don't think. The other thing that amazes me, he's got these little tiny feet, but look at the size of his hands. His hands are massive.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So so they call him the Woodwoes. Let me see if what this next picture is. I forgot what. So this is my favorite here. So there's all these paintings all over England of when this Yeti, this British Bigfoot was around. So this painting is called the Woodwoes Dance. So this looks like the king. They're having a party for the king, and there's how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 of these beasts dancing and performing for the king. And their clubs are on the ground. The dog is howling. Looks like there's people up in the balcony playing music. This looks like a lot of fun. I would love to find a Bigfoot like this and have a party. What do you say, John? You know?
Wow. Yeah.
We could hold it at your house. You know?
Where? At whose house?
Your house.
I don't think that's happening.
Okay. Well, our wives would probably object because also known, the British Bigfoot is also known for carrying away women. There's this, but this is an ancient Celtic. This is even before. This is 8th century Celtic drawing of a Bigfoot holding a woman. You know, she's fully dressed. She's holding out her hands like she's saying, "Oh, where are you taking me?" You know. So, and look at the size of his feet. Now, the other one had the big hands and small feet. This guy's, you know, if that old saying about feet and other parts of your body is true, I don't know. She's either in for a good time or something else. That's all I'm going to say about that. Now, but I have one more thing. And this is the first thing I thought of when I saw the name Woodwoes, and they called him the Woodman. Now, as I mentioned before, we're all in Cleveland, Ohio. If you say Woodman to people who grew up in Cleveland, Ohio, the person they're going to think of is this guy right here, Woodrow the Woodsman. When we were kids, Woodrow had a kids TV show on in the morning, and he used to show cartoons, and he was dressed like a woodman and had an axe, and goofy kind of guy. So that's the first thing I thought of there. So there's our Cleveland Woodman. So anyways, John, I know no photos there. Well, we got a photo of Woodrow here.
Woodrow,
okay, so
Woodrow was a very popular
remember what you said before about those tracks. We're going to go to Australia for our third story, and the Australian Bigfoot is the Yowie. So Dean Harrison, I've written about Dean many, many times at Mysterious Universe, mysteriousuniverse.org, by the way. Get my plug in there. I'm the editor and head writer. Dean has spent 25 years researching Yowies. And he just received a video that he says is the best video he's ever seen. Now, I can't show the video, but I do have some clips from some still photos from the video. It was from 2 years ago. Some natives, some indigenous people, Australian Aborigines who were working on a railroad or something out in the outback. They found these things. So here's the footage. So this is. Let's get Woodrow out of here. So this is a picture of the footprint. Now I'll explain it to everybody. It looks like a giant human footprint, much larger than the human boot right next to it. And it is right next to it. Now I apologize for the blurriness. I'll explain that in a second. So that foot is at least 1.5 feet bigger than in comparison to the boot there. Okay, so that's let's see. I think I've got another footprint here. Let's take a look here. Oh yeah, there's the other footprint there. So in fact, that might even be the same footprint. I'm not sure. This photo is much more blurry. I apologize for that. So there's two footprints right there. So what they said was they saw this in North Queensland, and they saw tracks leading off away from this. And here's a photo of the tracks going off in the dirt or mud or whatever that might be, all the way into the woods over there. So they said that they followed the tracks for a few hundred meters. So that's a couple 100 feet.
Wow.
And then they found this. And what they found there, now they blurred it because it was so gross. This is what they said. This is half of a boar, a torn apart wild pig. And
half of a boar?
There was another one that looks exactly the same in a different spot, which is the other half of the boar that the Yowie apparently tore in half. And they blurred it out because they said it was too gross for us poor Americans to see. So he says that they said they felt they were being watched while they found all of this stuff. Well, of course they did. The Bigfoot was having, or the Yowie was going to have a pig roast, and then these guys show up and take his pig away. So,
yeah,
I'd be upset too. I'd be watching them. So they described it. The locals described it. They said it was effing ripped. The boar was effing ripped clean in half, and then this next to it, which was the big footprint. So there you go. I think that's my last photo there. So John, what's your input on that one?
Again, not trying to be a doubting Thomas, but there's nothing there. There's nothing. I mean, it's blurred out, okay. And the theory is this creature tore the boar in half. Well, one thing I will say, I was very impressed with the photo or the image of several footprints. In fact, several footprints next to each other, right? To me, that is really, I'm not going to say convincing, but it goes more towards credibility than, the solo foots that we've seen so many times.
Sure. I'll buy that. Unfortunately, and I watched the video, and the video wasn't much better. So the
really?
quality, the quality is poor as always. I don't know what else to say about that other than when they described it as half a boar. I've been called half a boar many times. So
I think we all have. You're not alone, Paul.
I could relate to the photo, yeah. And I, some days I'm sure everybody wishes I was blurred out as well. So, but be that as it may. So there you go. 3 Bigfoot stories, very, very, unusual, out of the ordinary kind of Bigfoot stories here from around the world.
Yes.
So good Bigfoot week. Okay. Yes. Another giant monster of a different kind. This one comes from Ontario, Canada. And oh boy, this was popular on Facebook, on my Facebook page this week. Please visit me on Facebook, like me, follow, whatever you want to do. Maybe send me a friend request, all that good stuff. So this comes from Henry D'Angela. Henry D'Angela lives in Ontario. There's a photo of Henry. Henry is holding an 8-foot zucchini. 8-foot zucchini. 8 foot 4.79 inches, so almost 8.5-foot zucchini.
Wow.
Yeah, he grew this in his garden, and he already contacted the Guinness people because he believes, based on his research, that this is by far the world's largest zucchini ever grown. The judges have already said they've agreed to consider it as long as he doesn't force them to eat zucchini bread while they're doing it.
Or zucchini planks, as it were.
Yeah. I mean, look at that. It's 3 foot over his head. He looks like a big guy. Very, very large zucchini. In fact, 8-foot zucchini. I don't remember this, John. I think we saw 8-foot zucchini open for Red Hot Chili Peppers back in the day.
I'm trying to recall that, Paul, but I think you're right.
Believe it or not, speaking of music, that's one of my favorite jokes. It turns out I went looking, and there's a band called Zucchini in England. The Zucchinis. I'm sorry, the Zucchinis. This is for my buddy Simon down in Texas, longtime listener of the show, an old friend of mine. He probably has heard this band. He was in the music business for many years, but and he'll verify that the zucchinis are pretty bland, just like the vegetable. And in fact, oh, I just got a message from Simon. He said that he saw zucchini open for bread. So,
well, there you go. There you have it.
Yeah, there's a horn for Simon. The John. Now, I was thinking about John. He's down in Florida. He's going to be down there for a little while. Whatever you do, don't grow any of this kind of zucchini in Florida. Because if it gets to be 8 foot long and it's in your garden, you're going to go out there one morning, maybe to pick it, and you're going to find one of those giant boa constrictors that lives down there now. Probably
that's possible.
That
is
having
possible.
Sex with your zucchini.
Well, I don't. That's a bad visual in the first place, but I mean, it's very possible. Oh,
that is a bad visual, and I don't apologize at all. Okay, so speaking of Florida, there's the zucchinis right there. If they're in your town, I apologize. They're probably a nice band. Okay, also in Florida, the shopper at a thrift shop was shocked, absolutely shocked. He's going through the thrift shop. He's in the Halloween section, and he realized that the skull that he saw in the Halloween section was an actual human skull. There it is. That's what he found. This was the guy was a part-time anthropologist, so he knew what he was talking about. This was an actual human skull. So they were shocked. Even more shocked was the brain surgeon, also in Florida, who had to explain to his patient why his head is suddenly lighting up and he has a handle sticking out of the top of his head. Big mix-up down in Fort Myers. John, you've been in Florida far more times than I have. What kind of thrift store sells skulls to begin with?
Well, I have no idea, but I mean, there are thrift stores. I mean, there's the Salvation Army thrift store and, these others or what have you, but I've never seen anything like that. I mean,
well, the only thing I can think of, maybe it was a Goodwill and Testament.
Oh,
I know I had to go a long way for that one, didn't I?
That's right. Well, at least you got the horn out early, Paul. That's good. That's very good.
But the other question I have is, who donates a skull to a thrift store?
Why would they accept it?
Why would? As a corollary question, follow-up question there. The only thing I can think of, maybe it was Dr. Frankenstein. He said, "Hey, Igor, we clean out some of that stuff. We need some. I'm downsizing." And Igor grabs whatever he can and takes it down to Goodwill. Next thing you know, you got a skull on your shelf.
Oh, it's amazing. Wow.
Worse than having an elf on your shelf, skull on your shelf. Okay, all right. Okay, so this was also a popular item on Facebook today. The toilet paper in the refrigerator. Karen, you tend to know about these kinds of things, so I'm gonna go to you for advice on this one. This was on TikTok, and it's a new trend which is trending on TikTok, where people are keeping toilet paper rolls, full rolls, in their refrigerators. Now, which I think is the answer to the question: what does a polar bear do before it goes in the woods? It puts its toilet paper in the refrigerator. I don't know. Any thoughts on that, Karen?
I put batteries in the refrigerator to keep them fresh. I don't think we have to put toilet paper in the refrigerator to keep it fresh.
I'm telling you, if this is a trend, I don't want to see it, because if I put, what's going to happen to me? I have my toilet papers in the refrigerator. I get up in the middle of the night. I go into the bathroom. There's no toilet paper. I got to go down with my pants around my knees to the refrigerator, open it up, take it out, and then I remember I'm actually on a plane. And
you're in trouble, Paul.
I just woke up from a nap. Yeah, this is not good.
Wow.
So it turns out, it I'm not going to do any more of those jokes. It turns out this is people are doing this to keep the refrigerator fresh. And what they recommend doing I'm sure all of us have at one time or another had an open box of baking soda in your refrigerator. That's supposed to keep the odors down. Well, they said this does it even better. What you do is you take some of that baking soda, add some water, make it into a paste. Then you rub the paste on one end of the toilet paper. You put the other end down on the shelf so it's standing upright like a box of oatmeal or something. And it's supposed to absorb even more odors because the toilet paper, I guess, acts like a filter and sucks in a whole lot more than the baking soda can. They say that it neutralizes the smell of moisture that messes up your fridge, keeps your food fresh and tasty for way longer. Another thing I don't want to see. I don't want to open up a refrigerator and see a roll of toilet paper next to the brown bananas I was saving to make banana bread. There's a visual I don't want either.
That would be a bad visual also, Paul. Wow. Yeah, that's bad news.
Believe it or not, some of the brands are already capitalizing on this because it's so popular. I already saw an ad for Quilted Far Northern, for Eskimos, and also Cotton L. That's cold.
Oh boy.
I don't know. Does that deserve a horn? Probably not. Okay. All right. So now I mentioned this new innovation in Doritos. So PepsiCo in the UK has a lot of customers that play video games for hours and hours and hours, and they snack while they're playing video games. And people are complaining that they hear the crunching sound because they wear microphones now, and all of this is audio. They're hearing the crunching sound. So they went to Doritos and they said, "What can you do?" So Doritos has come out with this Doritos Silent. It's a crunchless, the world's first AI augmented snack designed for people who don't want to make noise while snacking. A crunchless Doritos snack. It took a lot of experimenting to get it to lose the crunch. For a while, they would just call it limp because it was you just couldn't get the crunch out of it. I've got a beard. I would like Doritos Crumbless more than Doritos Silent, but ultimately they came out with this. Now it's really not a chip. It's software. So you go to the Doritos Silent website and you download software that you put on your whatever you run in your video games on, and it digitally silences the sound of crunching whenever it hears it.
Okay. Yeah.
They already reported that their servers crashed, not because of the gamers, but because so many guys watching porn thought it'd be a good idea if they had it too. You can just hear it. Somebody beating on the door. Junior, what are you doing in there? I'm eating Doritos, Mom. We've talked about Doritos on the show before. Dorito is Spanish for little fried thing, which is what you see if you go to a nude beach where there's a height limit of 5 foot or under. You see a lot of little fried things. And I think that's where the name came from. Anyways, let's move on. So also on Facebook this week, early in the week, this was last week, I talked about this. This guy, his name is Ashkan Doshmanziri, and I apologize for mispronouncing his name. Lives in Iran. He just set a Guinness World Record when he stacked 4 watermelons on top of each other without the use of adhesive. 4 water, and these are good sized watermelons right here, as you can see in the photo if you're looking at it. Not as big as our picnic watermelons in the United States, but certainly good sized watermelons. And he did it without any adhesives. Once he was done and the Guinness people left, he went back to his job working at the world's smallest grocery store where he's a produce manager there.
Oh,
Yeah,
boy.
comes in handy. Yeah, it comes in handy. So
Sure.
this guy, he's 43 years old, and he says he's been stacking watermelons since he was a kid growing up on a farm in Iran. His father was a watermelon farmer, and that's what he did. He said his father grew the watermelons and he stacked them. You know, I can't see putting this on your application to college or on your resume, but apparently, you know, he does this. He also enjoys piling other things. He says when he grew up, he whenever he sees a pile, a loose pile, he tries to stack them. So he stacks rocks, cans, books, boxes, everything he sees. He says he tries to stack. In high school, in high school, he was the captain of the cheerleading team. So, you know, there it would come in handy. Not for me. I'm not good at stacking things. In fact, when I was in high school, I got fired from IHOP because I couldn't even stack the pancakes.
Oh, my.
In my defense, nobody told me that you don't stack them end on end. So, you know, I don't, that's the way it goes there. That's my story and I'm sticking to it. Okay. So a lot of these stories come from Facebook. As I said before, please follow me on Facebook, you know, send me a friend request, whatever you want, send suggestions. You know, I do look at my messages. If you have an idea or you just want to say something about a story, by all means do that. I love getting that kind of feedback. Go to newclevelandradio.net. Karen has a place where you can give feedback there. If you watch us live, you can give feedback there. So just get that plug in there. Okay. 4 men, this was also from Facebook. 4 men have, where is this? Oh, this is in England. They've been charged with the theft of an 18-karat gold toilet. There's a photograph of it. An 18-karat gold. The seat is gold. The commode is gold. The pipes are gold. The handle's gold. Everything is gold on this toilet. It was stolen from an art exhibit at Blenheim Palace. Stolen in 2019. They just caught the 4 guys this week, but they have not yet recovered the toilet. Toilet was valued at more than $6 million. $6 million toilet.
Wow.
Yeah, it's so expensive. It can only be cleaned by a Ty-D-Bol man in a yacht. That's how expensive.
Well, that stands to reason, wouldn't you think? I mean, you know, it stands to reason. You know,
I don't have anything else to clean it with. I was trying to come up with something.
Really. Well,
I mentioned this on Facebook that's a reference that only boomers will get.
I got it. Yeah.
I'd be more impressed if a lot of people pointed out that our former president had a gold toilet in one of the places where he lived, which is true. I would have been more impressed if he had a gold Ty-D-Bol man, but Ty-D-Bol. For those of you who don't know, who may not have their own toilets or have somebody who cleans their toilets for them, it's a toilet bowl cleaner. And actually, they're still in business. You can buy it at the grocery store. It was introduced in 1957. The Ty-D-Bol man commercials started in 1968. So about 10 years later, they needed something to promote the product with. So I apologize, John. There's no Bigfoot in this picture. It's just blurry.
But that's you know what though? But that's pretty accurate though, even though it's blurry, right? My recollection of seeing those commercials was just what you see, right?
Right. So the Ty-D-Bol man, he was in a rowboat at the beginning, and he moved up in quality. He wore a captain's hat, blazer, and a turtleneck. The boat itself fit in the tank. It was much smaller than even the little container of Ty-D-Bol in the water. There were a number of ran from 1968 to 1984, so a good 15 years. There was always a lady who was talking to him while he was in the bowl. I don't know what you say to a Ty-D-Bol man. Good job, I guess. So interestingly, the guys who were actors in the Ty-D-Bol, you would think they'd be embarrassed and never tell anybody that they were actually the Ty-D-Bol man. It turns out in the acting business, and I know actors will back me up on that, never turn down a job because you never know where it will lead you. The first Ty-D-Bol man, and the one who was most famous, is a guy by the name of Dan Resin. And Dan ended up, after he left Ty-D-Bol, he played Dr. Beeper in the Caddyshack movies. So he was a psychiatrist, I think.
Oh, wow.
He ended up on Broadway. He was in My Fair Lady, Once Upon a Mattress, and Don't Drink the Water. So it led to a great career for him. And he wasn't the only one. After he left, he was replaced by a guy by the name of Larry Sprinkle, which sounds like a porn name, but it's not. He's a real actor. And he is now a reporter for NBC affiliate WCNC in Charlotte, North Carolina. So
Wow.
he did a great job out of it. Yeah. And then the third one was a guy by the name of Mark Matheson. And he was in Forrest Gump after he left the Ty-D-Bol commercial.
It's a springboard. It was a springboard for him. Yeah, sure.
Springboard, exactly. That we should have had a little springboard in the toilet bowl there for each of the actors. So as I mentioned, yeah, blue blazer, white shoes, captain's hat. He drove a motorboat. So as many of you know, I used to write for Jay Leno on the Tonight Show. I was a big fan of Johnny Carson, and this is Johnny Carson's area. Johnny used to pick on the Ty-D-Bol man all the time, as did Bob Hope, Carol Burnett, and George Carlin. Even George Carlin had a whole routine on the Ty-D-Bol man, and it was a driving force behind people of our age lifting the top off the toilet and looking to see if there was a little man in our.
Is he in there? Is he really
You
in
remember doing that, John? Yeah.
there? Oh.
So anyways, all right. So speaking of boats, so this next story comes from Uruguay. So a man was traveling from Uruguay to Argentina by boat, and he was stopped by security in Buenos Aires. And the security agents found he was smuggling 5 liters of canine semen into the country. I think I have a photo of it here. There we are.
Oh my God.
Oh. 5 liters.
Really?
That's how big 5 liters of canine semen is.
Really?
The security guard, they got suspicious when his bag started humping their drug sniffing dog. So they knew there was something really odd and doggish in his bag. As Groucho Marx would say, I knew boats carry semen, but this is ridiculous.
Oh.
I salute the Groucho there. So this guy, they asked him, what are you doing? And he said it was for breeding. Of course, what else could it be for breeding? Dog porn, it's just, what are you going to use it for other than that? And of course, I had to think of some names of doggy porn. Doggy Does Dallas, Behind the Green Doghouse, and I Am Curious Yellow Lab. Now, there's a lot of jokes in this show today for baby boomers who remember when pornography used to be shown at regular theaters. Back when it first came out, like Deep Throat. Deep Throat was at a number of legitimate theaters around the country until people went to see it, or their parents went to see it. So you don't see porn movies in mainstream theaters anymore. In fact, I don't even think they're movies. I don't even think they make movies anymore. Short subjects, I think they make, but not movies. Anyway, short subjects. That was a joke that didn't work there.
I got that.
All right, one more here, and then we'll get to John. This is my favorite story from Poland. So I do this for my lovely wife, who is Polish, and for all of our Polish fans out there. Animal rescuers in northern Poland have been looking unsuccessfully for 2 weeks for, get a load of this, 2 loose kangaroos that have been seen hopping around in Poland. They have not been able to catch him. This guy took a photo of one out of his car. Actually, if you look at this, someone took a photo of him taking a photo of the kangaroo. I'm not sure why they did that, but anyways, So there's some bad news because there's a story, another story going around that it may be too late. That today's special at a restaurant in the area was Happen Kishka. What else would you make in Poland from kangaroo but Happen Kishka?
Yeah, because it's just like strange bedfellows. What is a kangaroo doing in Poland? Come on now.
Good question, John. That's exactly who keeps two kangaroos in Poland. Why not just buy an extra pair of pants? If you need that many pockets, get a baby pack or something.
Oh my gosh.
Who has two kangaroos? In Poland, by the way, I looked it up. I looked up the Polish word for kangaroos, and it's kangarooskis.
Is that true?
That's true. That's a true story. In fact, I saw Kangarooskis open for Frankie Yankovic when I used to go to polka clubs
Wow.
back in the day. And on that note, I think that it's the end of bad jokes. No, wait a minute. We still got John coming up.
Hey, wait a minute. Wait a second here.
And Bluff the Co-Host, of course. So, anyways, thanks for putting up with all those great stories. All the stories were true. My comments may not be, but I hope you had a good time listening to that. And when we reach the end of What in the World, that means it's time for What in the World of Sports with my old buddy John Dinallo. John and I go way back. John is someone who I've always respected for his knowledge of sports and his knowledge of sports trivia. So every week I ask John to find us. In fact, let me put your logo up here while I'm thinking about it. Every week I ask John to find a weird sport that fits in with the theme of What in the World. And every week John never disappoints us. He always has a good story, good sport, not necessarily one that you've heard of. In fact, hopefully you haven't heard of it, not necessarily one you'd participate in. Sometimes I hope that someday some of these sports we could have a team in Cleveland and that we could be the owners. But in the meantime, John's got a great sport for us this week. So let me make sure I got your photos lined up. And John, and why don't you introduce the sport?
I will do, Paul. Thanks for the introduction. Yes, we have a very interesting sport this week. Our sport this week is Kung Fu shoe flipping. Kung Fu.
Say that again.
Flipping. Wait. Now, come on. Now,
okay.
That's both a tongue twister and a sport I'm sure most of you have never heard of.
No.
If you believe the adage, everyone in the world is the best at something, and it is only a matter of time of discovering what that thing is, then this could be the sport for you. It's
Kung
really
Fu shoe flipping. Okay.
All
right. I'm
okay.
open.
Good. So it's really simple. Competitors kick off a single Kung Fu shoe, and their kicks are measured for distance and straightness. A Kung Fu shoe is the kind like the ones Bruce Lee, as you can see here, used to wear in his Kung Fu movies.
When he was Kung Fu fighting,
yes,
but not singing.
Yeah. Right. If you kick off your shoes or flip-flops when you come home, you're already on your way to a career in the sport. So
wow.
You're a couple steps ahead, so to speak. Unfortunately, you and I and Karen and the rest of the audience, I think probably have missed the Yokohama Chinatown Kung Fu Shoe Flipping World Championships.
Oh, did we miss it?
They took place on November 3rd.
Now, wait a second. If you researched it, why didn't you call and tell us?
Well, I was unavoidably detained with other things, and so I didn't have a chance to alert everyone because we'd have to then get into the plane and then fly to Japan, and be kind of taking it from ground zero. Karen is the thing there. Now, Yokohama is in Japan, but the shoe flippers all live in Chinatown.
Wow,
who knew that?
Who knew?
Now, the way the competition goes is like this. Each contestant is given a pair of Kung Fu shoes, so you cannot bring your own shoes to the competition. You can't bring your own shoes that have the lead weights of the toes, toe shoes. Well, just, again, they're trying to have quality control there. So
It's
each
a legitimate sport. Yeah.
it is a legitimate sport. Each contestant then flips off one shoe along a narrow lane. It's not a very wide area. It's a narrow lane. And
Sorry.
if the shoe flies outside of the boundaries of the lane, the flip is disqualified. The shoe,
Ah,
the shoe that travels the farthest is declared the winner.
so
Now,
as the shoe flies, that's an old saying, I think, in
Yeah.
Japan. As the shoe
that's
flies.
very good, Paul. That's very good. That's very funny.
It also looks dangerous. I just showed a couple of photos here. This guy was doing just what John described, kicking his kung fu shoe off, and now he fell backwards. He's on the ground with one shoe on, one shoe off.
Deedle
Doesn't look
deedle dumpling, my son John.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, right. Very good, Karen. Yeah, for all of us baby boomers, we know exactly what you're referring to.
There you go.
Now, so the tournaments are divided into both men's and women's divisions, and there is even separate competition for junior high students and younger.
Wow. That I want to point out here on this particular photo. Did John just mentioned that the shoe has to stay in the lane, and they're on a street. So obviously it should stay in the street. This one went off to the side and hit that building over there. And so this guy's running back with the shoe, and you can see on the bottom it says OB, which means, well, I had to look it up. It means out of bounds. So this is for the people watching the video. If they don't know Japanese or Chinese or Kung Fu, they can at least find out what happened. And that's what happened. This guy kicked it out of bounds.
Right. Now, I would gather that the audience, many people in the audience want to know what the current world record is for Kung Fu flipping. Well, get ready for this. It stands at 97.8 feet.
Wow.
And it was set back in 2017 by a kicker in the men's division who remains nameless.
Wow, that's a third of a football field right there. That's pretty far to kick a shoe.
No doubt. Now, besides distance and accuracy, 3 prizes are awarded to the most entertaining contestants.
Ah, like this little kid here.
Well, someone that really, again, entertains. The Kung Fu Shoe Flying World Championship is only one segment of the Kitaman Festival, which takes place all day long. Now, for anyone serious about Kung Fu shoe flipping, entry costs only 67 cents per flip, or 100 yen. Now, and the first 30 contestants who sign up will receive a special edition Yokohama bottle of Coca-Cola.
Which I couldn't believe. I went searching for it, and there it is right there, a Yokohama bottle of Coca-Cola. Now, wow. 67 cents entry fee. That we could do a road trip.
Let's just get in the plane and let's go. Right. Now, to do so, though, you must follow the Kitaman Festival on the messaging app. There's an app you can follow on the internet. And what you do is you have to text, and I quote, "I hope to participate." And at that point, you should start practicing your Kung Fu shoe flips because you're in the competition.
Wow. Amazing. 67 cents. Type in, "I hope to participate." And next thing you know, you could be the world champion Kung Fu shoe flipper.
Wow.
I didn't find out how long it took people to practice or how they became proficient at this, but upon first blush, I just thought it was hysterical. I mean, think of it.
I can just see John once he read this, found this story, sitting in the backyard down there in Florida, kicking his shoes off, thinking, I could do this.
Well, I think next year for home days in one of our cities, we should get a group of people together to kung fu their shoes.
Kung Fu shoe flipping in Northeast Ohio. Even better, Karen, I like that idea because it's in the summertime, but I think it'd be even more fun to do it in the winter and have Kung Fu boot flipping.
Oh,
I think you get more distance out of that. Yeah. What do you say? How far do you think Bruce Lee could kick it, John?
Well, I don't know. I would think much farther than the 97, or there was out there, or what have you. And the reason I say that is in some of those films, if you remember, he was able to do fantastic physical feats, Bruce Lee.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I remember a film in particular that I think he somehow was flying over the water for I don't know how long, right?
Yeah.
In addition to the other things that he did, Bruce Lee, I think, was really a master at what he did. And if I remember correctly, way back in the 70s, he was like the first person that people really followed in terms of kung fu, not related to the Carradine show that was on network TV. Right. But I think he was really the first because I remember going to several of his movies, as a matter of fact, when I was younger. So yeah.
Well, speaking of fantastic feats, John, I don't know if you remember this, but when we were in college, we tried something like this.
We did? I don't remember.
Yeah. You don't remember? Somebody found, one of our fraternity brothers found it and went to the younger guys, of which John and I were, and they said, "Hey, you guys need to try this kung fu shoe flipping." And as usual, John and I and our fraternity brothers, we didn't read the instructions very carefully. So we didn't quite do as well as the world record. I've got some photos here. So here's a photo of John kicking, trying to kick his shoe off. He pretty much just kicked himself in the head. He had good leg action, but his shoe didn't even come off there.
You know what, Paul and Karen and the audience, I think that's a blue Converse. If now that I remember,
and still tied. Maybe that was the problem there, John.
Kidding.
So John went first, because John was brave. So I followed him. So I thought I'm not going to make the same mistake as John. So here's me. Now I pretty much kicked myself in the back of the head, winding up. So I don't think I didn't do too well on that either. So anyways, that was us kicking kung fu shoe fighting in college, and great sport as always, John. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
Thanks, Paul and Karen. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Now that we've reached the end of What in the World of Sports, that means it's time for everybody's favorite weird news game, Bluff the Co-Host. We've got 3 stories similar to the ones that I've been telling all afternoon. One big difference: all those stories were real. These 3 stories may be real, may be a bluff, and it's up to John, Karen, and those of you playing at home to determine which it is. Gambling is allowed, so quickly place your bets. Karen and John, put your hands on the buzzer. Let's get right to story number 1. If you're going to steal a car from a junkyard, 1, make sure it's running, and 2, don't drive past a forklift. A car thief in Ohio forgot the second part of that advice, and an alert employee saw him, jumped into the forklift, and lifted the car 20 feet into the air until the local police arrived. The car thief said he thought about jumping out, but he didn't want the car to fall on top of him. The cops said they thought about leaving him up there for 30 days, but that would be cruel and unusual punishment for the forklift driver. Instead, they had him lowered and booked him on a charge of grand theft. You ought to know better. Okay, so the car thief in Ohio who got caught stealing a car in a junkyard by a forklift driver who lifted the car before he could get away and kept him there until the cops came. What do you say? Karen, I'll go with you first. Real or bluff?
Well, it almost sounds realistic, but at the same time, like the forklift driver could have gotten in trouble if like the car just like fell and crashed. And so I'm going to say it's a good bluff.
Oh, okay. All right. Karen says it's a bluff. John, how about you?
Well, I have a different view on this one. I'm going to say it's a real story. Sometimes forklift operators are not given as much credit as they should for what they do. And I think if this person, as you said, was alert, which I'm thinking that he was. He obviously stopped the crime, which I think is great news. So I'm going to say it's real.
Wow. Okay. So John says it's real. Karen says that the forklift driver stopping a car thief by lifting him up off the ground is a bluff. Let's check with the judges. And the judges say, congratulations, John. That is a real story out of Akron, Ohio. I was really
my God.
afraid that
Wow.
one of you, I knew John
Wow.
wasn't watching TV, Cleveland TV, but Karen, I was afraid you may have seen that one on the news. It just
Yeah,
happened.
right.
Akron, Ohio, of all places.
Oh, wow.
And this was a serial car thief. They knew the guy before, so the cops were thrilled that they caught the guy. Who
Okay.
steals cars out of a junkyard? Only people in Akron and Cleveland, Ohio.
Yeah, and bravo to the forklift operator again. He solved the crime or
Said it,
stopped the
John.
crime.
That's right. Good one. Okay, all right. So that means John is ahead, 1-0. Oh boy,
Of
John,
course
you've
he
been on a
is.
roll the past few weeks. All right, Karen, go ahead, take a deep breath, and let's get to story number 2. Proving once again that blondes have more fun. People in Stockholm, Sweden have been celebrating the first major snowstorm of the season by making snow boobs on the front of their cars. The idea was inspired by a popular TV weather person who is a blonde female known for her high pressure cleavage. She ended a report recently with a video of her building her own snow boobs on the hood of her car, and Stockholm police said the roads the next morning were filled with busty Volvos and other Swedish cars. It's not illegal, but they recommend either giving your car boobs a wide cleavage or an un-Swedish-like flat cup size so the driver's view doesn't get blocked. Okay, so TV weather person in Sweden inspires people to make boobs out of snow on the hoods of their cars. John, we'll start with you. Real or bluff?
It sounds plausible, right? I mean, it kind of sounds. I mean, there's a lot of snow in Sweden, right? And you could see that this could be something that someone would want to do. But I'm going to say it's a bluff. I'm going to say
John says it's a bluff, although he wouldn't turn away if he saw one coming
No,
down.
I definitely would not. I mean, it would be interesting scenery. Let's leave it at that.
Okay. All right, Karen, how about you?
Well, I'm probably not going to win, so I'm going to say it's true.
That's an interesting logic point there.
There
Karen.
you go. That's right. That logic has worked before, as a matter of fact. Okay, so Karen says that the boobs on the front of cars made out of snow in Sweden is real. John says it's a bluff. Let's check with the judges, and the judges say, with all apologies to blondes out there, that is a bluff. So John, wow, 2 in a row. John, it's 2-0 here.
I'm on a hot streak here. Wow, maybe I should be
You
in Florida
are.
more often.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the hat. Maybe it's the hat.
Could be the Browns. Could be the Browns.
Sometimes, I think sometimes your hats are a little too tight. That looks like it might be a loose one. So gives your brain a little
it's helping my cranium. That's right.
the blood flow. Yeah. Okay. All right. So John's ahead 2-0. But Karen, don't despair. Points are doubled in round number 3, so you could come back and win. So
or I can lose bigger.
Or yeah.
Think positive, Karen. Think positive.
Be positive. Okay, let's get right to story number 3. While most people run away from giant insects in Australia, a distillery in Adelaide decided that if life gives you giant green ants, make giant green ant gin. The ants are popular with Australian Aborigines, but this is the first time they've been used in booze. Although it's gin, some people mistake it for tequila because it has actual giant green ants floating in the bottle. Taste testers say the ants have a citrusy flavor, which goes well with gin and lemonade. But most people stick to doing shots and swallowing the giant green ants whole. It's harder than moving a rubber tree plant, but the distiller has high hopes for its giant green ant gin. Okay, so gin made from giant green ants with the ants floating in the bottle from Australia. Karen, what do you say? Real or bluff?
I think I'd rather have an ant than a worm, so I'm going to say it's true.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Karen says, would you drink it?
I don't drink alcohol.
Oh, okay. Well, that answers that. How about milk with giant green ants in it? Never mind. We won't go there. Okay, so Karen says that's a real story. John, how about you?
I have a general thought here. Okay. When you use the word giant, is it really like very large? Not to be funny. I mean, you say giant green ants. Now, in a gin bottle or whatever, okay, or tequila bottle, okay, the worm is very small, right? Okay. I'm thinking that you're going to detract and take away from the alcohol, from the gin, right? Because you have this ant in the gin. And to me,
Okay.
I think you maybe could have one and it might be all right. But I think after you start tossing down more than one, I don't think that's good for you. So I'm going to say it's a bluff. I'm going to say it's a bluff.
Hopefully everybody out there followed that logic there. The end result is John says the giant green ant gin is a bluff. Karen says it's real, although she would not taste it. Let's check with the judges, and the judges say, congratulations, Karen, you pulled into a tie. That is a real story.
Way to go, Karen.
John, I'll send you a photo. They are giant, they are green, they are ants. They do taste citrusy. And there's a lot of protein in them. The Aborigines have been eating them for centuries, eons. Now they're, like everything else in Australia, they finally decided to put it in booze so they could get drunk eating them. And some people like to chew them, but most of them just swallow it like they do the worm in the tequila.
Wow.
And like the worm in the tequila, once you swallowed it, you're done. And that's where we're at with What in the World. Thank you so much to everybody. First, to Karen Hale, our media mogul at newclevelandradio.net, our producer and co-host. Thanks for everything you do for our show. Please, everybody, visit newclevelandradio.net, download us, then take a look at all the other great podcasts Karen had. Thanks again to my old buddy, John Donalo. John, enjoy your stay down in Florida. Great sport. Keep your eyes open for Bigfoot, boa constrictors. God only knows what else you might see down there.
Well, keep an eye open for the swamp ape, right? That's
swamp ape. That's right. Yes. Keep an eye open and keep your phone handy.
And I'll try to stay away from the alligators.
Stay away from the alligators. That's right. Boy, there's so many things to think about while you're down there in Florida.
I know. I'm going to come back home and be on vacation, so I wouldn't have to be thinking about all these things. I'll come home to relax.
That's great. All right, John, that's super. And then, as always, thanks to everybody out there for listening, watching, whatever it is you're doing. You're the reason why we do this every week. I hope that you have as much fun listening to us as we do putting on the show every week. And on that note, it's election day in Ohio and in a number of states across the country. So if you haven't voted yet, please vote. If you already know the outcome, if you're listening to us in the future, what can I say?
Well, hopefully you voted.
Hope you voted. That's right. Hope you voted.
On
And
the
on
side,
that note, yeah.
As of next week, we have a sponsor.
Oh,
so everybody listen in, tell all your friends,
in.
Because it's a very good sponsor. So
great. What's super news? Okay. All right. And on that note, on that happy note, we will say adios for this week and see you next